Most people view me as nothing more than a parasite. The pampered younger sister who's become nothing but a drain on the family. But honestly, if someone offered to bankroll your every desire, would you really turn them down? I'm Cecelia Miller, and I'm 23. Unlike my sister Doris, I don't have any fancy university credentials. I don't spend my days trapped in an office cubicle, buried under an avalanche of emails and project deadlines. Instead, I live what many would consider a dream existence: lavish celebrations, high-end getaways, couture clothing. And of course, I don't have to pay a dime. I feel no shame about this arrangement. I see nothing wrong with it. Ever since I was little, I've known how to get what I wanted without having to try. While Doris wrestled with complex calculus problems, I'd simply snuggle up to Mom, put on a little pout, and instantly receive whatever new plaything caught my eye. When she juggled part-time jobs, pinching pennies for her college fund, I'd merely hint to our parents about wanting some trendy footwear, and they'd appear in my bedroom like magic the next day. Don't misunderstand me, I'm not idle. I'm just clever in my particular way. If Doris wants to bear the universe's burdens, that's her choice. I prefer navigating life's path with more finesse. If I can deploy a winning smile, choose the perfect words, and capitalize on my parents' devotion, why shouldn't I? People call me selfish, but think about it, have I ever taken anything from Doris? Have I ever pleaded with her for money? Never. I simply accept what's freely offered. I never coerce anyone into giving me anything. I simply exist as who I am, the beloved baby of the family, the one my parents always put first. If anyone feels shortchanged, they've done that to themselves. Doris chooses to work herself to exhaustion. She voluntarily takes on family responsibilities. I never requested this of her. And if our parents decide to redirect her money toward my needs, that's their choice, not mine. I can guess your thoughts. You despise me. You're hoping karma will come to me. But be patient. I once believed I'd always come out on top, until everything crumbled around me. I could never comprehend Doris's dedication to suffering. She sacrificed her youth to work, save, and fret about mundane matters like utility costs and pension plans. I took a different approach. I believed life was for living. I had no interest in drowning in documentation or being confined to a dreary office from dawn to dusk. If someone was willing to fund my lifestyle, I saw no reason to decline. I lazily opened my eyes at 10 a.m. in my opulent Miami apartment, where morning sunlight danced through gossamer curtains, casting a gentle glow on my latest Chanel acquisition. As I stretched languidly, my phone buzzed with messages from my social circle. Cecelia, there's an exclusive yacht party tonight. You in? Cecelia, your sister's still grinding away at work? Such a waste of life while you're living large. I couldn't help but smirk. Their observations weren't off the mark. Employment wasn't part of my vocabulary, not due to inability, but rather by choice. I possessed talents that Doris would never grasp, the art of making others willingly finance my lifestyle. My Instagram following exceeded 300,000, where I flaunted my enviable existence, from exclusive dining experiences at Michelin-starred establishments to lavish getaways at premium Maldivian resorts. Luxury brands competed to send me their latest collections and premium beauty products, all for a mere mention in my Instagram stories. I was an influencer, a style icon, a social butterfly. And when substantial funds were required, my parents were always there to step in. Their preferential treatment of me over Doris was undeniable. While Doris played the role of the responsible offspring, I remained their precious darling. Early in life, I'd grasped an essential reality: parental affection isn't distributed equally. Doris shouldered the burdens, while I simply had to maintain my lifestyle, stay content, and everything I desired would materialize. Last year perfectly illustrated this dynamic. When I mentioned wanting a new car to Mom, despite my Audi being perfectly functional, I simply craved something more prestigious. Though Mom initially hesitated, citing financial constraints, a fortnight later came the message: Cecelia, check your account. But keep this between us. The following day, a pristine white BMW convertible graced my garage. Yet Doris perceived me as the issue. She resented my enjoyment of life. During our infrequent encounters, her contempt was palpable, as if my existence offended her. "Have you ever considered the source of all this money?" she once questioned icily. I dismissed her concern. That was our parents' concern, not mine. Her judgment meant nothing because I possessed something she never would. True liberation. While Doris remained chained to her desk, drowning in spreadsheets and financial reports, my biggest decisions revolved around selecting dining venues or planning my next getaway. At any moment, I could spontaneously book a premium flight to Paris with a simple screen tap. Doris's self-imposed hardships remained a mystery to me. I vividly recall her final visit to my residence, or more accurately, her last confrontation. Her gaze swept across my luxurious apartment with barely contained fury. The Italian leather furnishings, sparkling crystal light fixtures, and wardrobes bursting with haute couture seemed to fuel her rage. She stood there, arms crossed, regarding me as though I were some sort of felon. "Cecelia, are you even aware of the people Mom and Dad had to approach for loans to sustain this extravagant lifestyle of yours?" I chuckled dismissively, retrieving my cocktail from the minibar and taking a leisurely sip. "Never bothered to ask, dear sister. I simply accepted what came my way." Doris's hands balled into fists, disappointment etched across her features. But her reaction left me unmoved. I remained convinced of my blamelessness. Life's inherently unfair. Some are destined for labor, others for pleasure. And I embraced pleasure wholeheartedly. Little did I know I'd orchestrated my own downfall until it was beyond redemption. That particular afternoon found me lounging at an exclusive Parisian hotel, legs elegantly crossed, savoring a peach cocktail as amber sunset hues painted the horizon. I'd just shared my latest Instagram update, a carefully curated shot featuring me before the Eiffel Tower, draped in current season Dior, with the caption, "Living my best life #thank you mom and dad," when my phone interrupted my reverie. Doris calling. I sighed, anticipating another sermon about my self-destructive behavior or a terse inquiry like, "Cecelia, what's your location?" as though I remained an errant child. Still, I decided to answer, hoping to avoid her persistent attempts later. "Hello, my ever-responsible sister," I greeted with artificial brightness. "Have you seen my recent post? Paris is simply divine." A silence. Something felt amiss. Usually, Doris would launch immediately into a reprimand, criticizing my irresponsibility, my wastefulness, or, at minimum, demanding I cease using our parents as social media fodder. Instead, dead air lingered until her voice emerged, controlled but laden with tension. "What exactly did you say?" I frowned. "Paris. Divine. Weren't you listening?" "No. The following part." Exhaling heavily, I responded, "Mom and Dad provided some assistance. You know how supportive they've always been." The ensuing silence stretched interminably. Her measured breathing carried through the connection, steady yet strained. I could perfectly envision Doris's expression, forehead creased, mouth compressed into a severe line, fingers gripping the phone with whitening knuckles. "Exactly how much have Mom and Dad assisted you, Cecelia?" Her tone cut like steel. I dismissed her concern with a scoff. "What's your issue? Mom and Dad have consistently supported me. It's perfectly normal. Not a significant concern?" Her laughter echoed, devoid of any warmth. "Then allow me to demonstrate what truly qualifies as significant." I heard her fingers dancing across the keyboard, followed by several distinct mouse clicks. Moments later, my phone lit up with a notification, a captured image of her banking details. I glanced at it casually until a particular figure caught my attention. $150,000. The cocktail glass nearly slipped from my trembling fingers. I bolted upright, my thoughts in disarray. Hold on, what exactly am I looking at? "That's the sum our parents have borrowed from me throughout the past 12 months, Doris's words dripped with venom. Money I believed was being used for home repairs, for clearing their debts. Instead, it's been financing your continental adventures and designer wardrobe." My throat constricted. Words failed me. I'd never questioned the source of Mom and Dad's financial support. I'd simply assumed they had their methods. The possibility that they were depleting Doris's accounts had never entered my consciousness. Cecelia. Doris's tone could have sliced through steel. Were you aware of this arrangement? Absolutely not. I exclaimed instinctively. I swear, I had no idea. I thought it was their own money. A cynical laugh escaped her. Yet you never found it strange that they always had funds available for you while claiming financial hardship to me? I attempted to formulate a response, but my voice abandoned me. Had I ever been suspicious? Never. Money had simply materialized whenever I required it. I'd never investigated further. Now, the crushing reality was leaving me breathless. Doris, please. Save it, she interrupted, her voice glacial. You won't escape the consequences this time, Cecelia. I'm determined to recover my money. By any means necessary. The line went dead. I remained motionless for what felt like eternity, the cool Parisian air caressing my skin, though I'd grown numb to its touch. For the first time ever, genuine terror gripped me. I'd never imagined Doris capable of such fury. For the first time ever, genuine terror gripped me. I'd never imagined Doris capable of such fury. I'd witnessed her disappointment before, her annoyance at my reckless spending, her irritation when I showcased my opulent lifestyle. But this was entirely different. When I opened my apartment door to find her standing there, I instantly recognized the gravity of my situation. She didn't raise her voice or immediately begin berating me. Instead, she remained perfectly still, her eyes radiating Arctic coldness, her fingers clenched so tightly they'd lost all color. I felt my throat tighten. Cecelia. Her words cut like razors. A discussion is overdue. I attempted a casual shrug, feigning indifference despite my racing heart. Regarding what? Doris didn't respond immediately. She marched inside with determined steps, not bothering to wait for my invitation. The door crashed behind her with a resounding thud. I demand answers. She tossed a bundle of documents onto the table. My eyes fell on them, banking records, text exchanges, transfer details. $150,000. The figure struck me like a physical blow. I struggled to maintain my composure. I've already explained, I was unaware Mom and Dad borrowed from you. But you used those funds. Doris's tone was razor-sharp. So drop the innocent act, Cecelia. I positioned myself against the kitchen counter, arms folded, attempting to project nonchalance. What's your point now? Want your money returned? Fine, I'll reach out to Mom and Dad. For the first time ever, I witnessed her perfectly controlled demeanor crumble. Doris's fist connected with the table, causing my wine glass to wobble, liquid spilling over. Leave Mom and Dad out of this. This is between you and me, Cecelia. I arched my brow, my irritation showing through. You're being melodramatic. Mom and Dad decided to support me. I never forced their hand. Doris's laugh was hollow and cutting. Listen to yourself. Mom and Dad supported you with my money. Money I earned through hard work. While you what? Lived luxuriously as I survived on cup noodles to help with their supposed emergencies. My fists tightened, feeling trapped. What's the big deal? You're not destitute. You've got a stable career, property, transportation. Stop acting like I took everything from you. Doris shook her head slowly, seemingly astounded by my response. Cecelia, are you truly this blind? This isn't solely about finances. It's about betrayal, about dignity. You've been parasiting off others' efforts without an ounce of remorse. I dismissed her words with a snort, masking my growing discomfort. You're painting me like some sort of felon. Doris's gaze pierced me, and genuine dread crept in for the first time. A felon? Perhaps that's not far off. Understand what fraud means, Cecelia? It's obtaining money through deception. While you didn't take it directly, you knew you were benefiting from deceit and showed zero concern. I felt my breath catch. She wasn't joking. I resorted to nervous laughter. What's your plan? Alert the authorities? Isn't that rather excessive? I'm still weighing my options, Doris replied, her words measured but piercing. But here's what's going to unfold. Either you return every single cent, or we'll let the legal system handle this. I attempted a dismissive chuckle, but it died in my throat when I realized she was dead serious. My mouth went dry. How do you expect me to come up with that amount? Start by selling your vehicle. Those designer bags. Cancel those extravagant getaways. I tried to interject, but Doris cut me off before I could form the words. If a lump sum payment isn't feasible, we'll establish a payment schedule. 5-year term. 5% interest. Refuse, and I won't hesitate to make this situation public. My voice disappeared. Doris's reputation for unwavering seriousness was well known. She'd never been one for jokes. The choice was clear: sacrifice everything I owned, or risk her exposing my actions to everyone. I hesitated. I need time to consider this. Doris held my gaze for what felt like eternity before nodding. You have 24 hours. She turned and left, leaving me rooted to the spot, feeling as though I'd been struck by an invisible force. For the first time, I felt the reins of control slipping through my fingers. I'd always operated under the illusion that consequences were something that happened to other people. My life had been a series of escapes, always having someone to shield me from repercussions. But this situation was different. No safety net would catch me now. Doris didn't even wait for the deadline. The following morning, I awoke to find my phone inundated with frantic messages from my parents. Doris had made her move. A notification from my bank made my heart stop. Account access suspended. I tried to maintain composure. Surely this was an error. I attempted to access my credit card portal, all transactions denied. A desperate attempt to move funds from savings yielded the same result: transfer unsuccessful. Fear began to consume me. I dialed my mother's number, only to hear her breaking down. Doris has gone through with it, Cecelia. She's demanding complete repayment. They've frozen our accounts, and you're implicated too. What? I shrieked. Through her sobs, Mom continued. Doris is threatening police involvement if we don't settle immediately. I sank onto my bed, stunned. No. Impossible. Doris wouldn't do this to family. She couldn't be this ruthless. Then I recalled her expression yesterday: emotionless, resolute, completely merciless. Seeking distraction, I opened Instagram, only to find a message from a high-end fashion brand I'd partnered with. Due to recent financial concerns, we regret to inform you that your sponsorship agreement has been terminated. I felt my world crumbling. I checked my inbox. 3 additional brands had sent contract termination notices. Frantically, I dialed Alex, my brand partnership manager. He answered on the first ring, his voice strained. Cecelia, what's happening? Everyone's talking about this lawsuit, your sister accusing you of fraud. My throat constricted. What are you talking about? I don't have details, but the rumors are spreading like wildfire. The brands want to distance themselves immediately. I ended the call, trembling uncontrollably. This is impossible. I was Cecelia Miller. My empire couldn't crumble overnight. But reality proved otherwise. I rushed to the garage where my pristine white BMW convertible waited. Needing escape, needing clarity, I pressed the key fob. Nothing happened. I tried again, complete silence. A shadow emerged from the parking area. A repo man. Miss Miller. He extended documentation. Due to loan default, I'm here to repossess this vehicle. I need to take it now. I watched helplessly as he drove away with my car. Everything was slipping away. I stumbled back toward my apartment, desperately seeking solutions. But opening the door revealed something more devastating. My parents had arrived. And their presence wasn't for comfort. Mother sat slumped on the sofa, face drawn, eyes red and puffy. Father stood by the kitchen counter, arms folded, radiating disappointment. Cecelia, he spoke, voice weary and strained. We need to discuss this. I clutched my handbag defensively, feeling suffocated. I can't handle more problems right now. You think we're not struggling? Mother exploded. Doris isn't just demanding your repayment, she wants us to cover your portion too. We simply don't have those resources, Cecelia. Rage bubbled inside me. Then reason with her. Explain we need payment flexibility. Father's expression remained somber. Doris's trust is completely shattered. Can't you see that? She's reached her limit. I laughed bitterly, defensive. What's her goal? To watch us suffer? Was destroying my life necessary? Fresh tears streamed down Mother's face. "You're not understanding. We're cornered." Without repayment, Doris's involving law enforcement. My blood ran cold. "Law enforcement?" Father confirmed grimly. "Yes. Without returning those funds, you're facing fraud charges." Reality crashed around me. I could lose everything, but prison wasn't an option. I collapsed onto the couch, my world spinning uncontrollably. I had always seen myself as invincible. Someone who could orchestrate every situation, who could maintain an extravagant lifestyle without facing any repercussions. But this time, I had committed an irreversible error. For the first time ever, I truly grasped the magnitude of my loss. Everything was gone. Though I avoided imprisonment, I was no longer recognizable as the Cecelia Miller people once knew. My opulent existence came to an abrupt halt when I signed the debt settlement agreement with Doris. Parted with my car. Sold off my designer bags. Relocated from my upscale apartment to a tiny one-bedroom unit in the outskirts. I never imagined falling to such depths, but poverty strips away all options. Then came the inevitable employment. Gone were the days of photographing luxury products or jet-setting for sponsored Instagram reviews. Instead, I found myself at a regular retail store, a genuine 9-to-5 position, complete with fixed schedules, basic pay, and difficult customers. Every moment was torture. I despised forcing fake smiles while serving tired mothers hunting for bargain children's clothing. The degradation of performing tasks I'd previously considered beneath me was overwhelming. Yet quitting wasn't an option. Rent needed paying. Doris needed repaying. And crucially, I needed to prove my resilience. Every moment was torture. I despised forcing fake smiles while serving tired mothers hunting for bargain children's clothing. The degradation of performing tasks I'd previously considered beneath me was overwhelming. Yet quitting wasn't an option. Rent needed paying. Doris needed repaying. And crucially, I needed to prove my resilience. Doris barely acknowledged me anymore. The anger and disdain in her eyes had been replaced by something worse, indifference. I wondered if being forgotten hurt more than being despised. Post-shift one evening, Doris messaged me. She wanted me to join them for dinner at our parents' house. I wavered. Facing them seemed daunting. Then reality hit. I had no alternatives. I entered what was once my sanctuary, now just another building. Father occupied his chair at the table, Mother busied herself cleaning. No elaborate spread, no premium wines. Just a simple meal, the kind I would have previously dismissed. Doris sat opposite me. For the first time in endless weeks, her gaze held no animosity. "How are you holding up?" she inquired. I nearly scoffed. Holding up? I was working full-time just to clear my debt to her. Living in a dilapidated apartment, surviving on budget meals, completely friendless. But rather than voicing these thoughts, I simply nodded. "I'm managing." Father exhaled deeply, placing his palms on the table. "Cecelia, we owe you an apology." I raised my eyes to meet his. "We failed you by allowing this situation. We were wrong to let you believe you could maintain a princess lifestyle without consequences. We were wrong to access Doris's money without considering the implications. We indulged you excessively." For the first time in my life, words failed me completely. Mother's hand found mine across the table. "Your anger is justified, but try to understand, we're all learning to adapt. This journey of change isn't yours alone." I stole a glance at Doris. Though her expression remained cautious, her eyes had lost their earlier hardness. "You're making progress, Cecelia." The praise felt oddly unsettling. I had never actively sought Doris's validation. Her opinion had never seemed to matter before. Yet now, hearing those words, I discovered that somewhere deep inside, I yearned for her to recognize that I wasn't just the irresponsible younger sibling anymore. We finished our meal in silence, not an uncomfortable one, but contemplative. Complete forgiveness hadn't been achieved on either side, but we had taken the first step toward rebuilding. As I prepared to leave, Doris caught me by the arm. "Tell me you're not giving up?" I met her gaze with a hint of my old confidence. "What do you think?" She chuckled softly, shaking her head. "I think you're still essentially you. But perhaps this time, you'll choose a better path." I remained silent, uncertain of my own truth. Perhaps I had transformed. Or maybe I was simply biding my time, waiting to reclaim everything. Sometimes, the most terrifying realization isn't losing everything, it's understanding that what you thought you had was never truly yours. I had been living in a fantasy, believing I was exceptional, that love required no effort, that someone would eternally shield me from my actions. Then suddenly, my protectors vanished, forcing me to stand alone. Life offers nothing without cost. A privileged existence without accountability, affection without respect, family bonds built on manipulation, all are destined to crumble. Yet the crucial question lingers, is my transformation genuine? I've mastered independence, embraced responsibility, confronted my mistakes. But deep within, a voice persists, whispering, eventually I'll recover it all. So who am I truly? A reformed individual or a predator waiting patiently? Have I genuinely changed? Or am I plotting my comeback? If you were Doris, would you extend forgiveness? Or let me face the consequences alone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm eager to hear your perspective. If you've encountered someone similar, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more controversial stories. Choose your stance. Hashtag Team Forgive Cecelia. Everyone merits another chance. Hashtag No Forgiveness. Once a deceiver, always a deceiver. Comment below.